Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
Are you going to the Renaissance Fair this year? We've got you covered from how to plan to when to go and what to wear, because that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Casters Guild. I'm your Guildmaster Rick Perry, and my depression might be chronic, but this beard is iconic.
And I'm your Guildmaster Baron Kane, and I'm full of stars.
If you're going to be full of something.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, sure.
All right, so it is Ren Faire season, and I realized that we've never really talked about the Ren Faire on this podcast, so I thought we'd put together a little bit of a Ren Faire survival guide and kind of give you tips and tricks that me and the fellow Guildmaster have come up with over our years of going to different Renaissance fairs and what to do when you get there.
Hell yeah.
So I
Money. Lots of money. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're not wrong. The biggest danger at the Renaissance Fair is to your wallet.
Yeah.
But I figure we start at the beginning, and honestly, most of the tips that I'm ready to give you are going to be things that happen before you go to the Renaissance Fair. And that's a lot of what this is going to be, is how to prep to go to the Renaissance Fair. So my first tip is going to be get to know your fair. There's a lot of different Renaissance fairs, and a lot of them are different in a lot of ways. A lot of them have their own rules. So the first thing you're going to want to do is jump online and find your Renaissance Fair's website or social media account, or however it's handled with your Renaissance Fair. It's most likely a website, and do some research.
Yep. Specifically in terms of like the layout, who's going to be there. If it's in your area, you're going to know how the weather is and everything like that, but definitely getting a look at, where the muddy puddles are going to be, especially if you're going in a very expensive outfit, that's probably for the best.
I would also say a lot of these websites have specifically an FAQ section, a frequently asked questions section, and there's a lot of good information there. For example, my local Renaissance Fair, the Tennessee Renaissance Fair, is kind of cracking down on trinket trading this year and has put a lot of rules to trinket trading and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do.
Sure. Can you tell me what you mean by trinket trading? Like, I know I very recently found out about it, so I kind of got an idea of what it's all about, but, for anybody listening, and definitely for more clarification for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So trinket trading, honestly, this is going to be the first year I'm participating. It's actually kind of new to me too. But basically, there's this whole thing around the Renaissance Fair culture that I think is newer. It's definitely newer in my area, where people are making little things or collecting little things, and you wear a little symbol that looks kind of like a rune that shows you are a trinket trader. And then you see anybody else who has that rune, you go up and you're like, hey, let's trade trinkets. And that's exactly what you do. Whatever trinket you brought. Like, for example, this year I'm bringing a bag full of rupees from Zelda, little tiny rupees that I 3D printed in 3 different colors, red, blue, and green. And whatever they have, they'll trade. I've heard people say they just go to hobby stores and get a bunch of little glass beads or marbles and trade those. My friend Tiffany, who has been on the podcast before with Sunshine Stitches, makes these little crocheted mushroom fidget toys that she trades with people. There's a lot of different things you can trade, and it's a lot of fun. But the reason I bring it up in general is, like I said, my fair is cracking down on it. So there's a lot of rules that are going around trinket trading, which it was kind of the Wild West before, where you can kind of do whatever you want. But with the new rules, a lot of people who don't look at these rules, if they go in and they don't follow these rules, I'm afraid that trinket trading could get banned altogether. if people don't follow the rules that have already been established. Which
Correct.
a lot of the rules, they make sense. And I think whatever fair you go to, whether they have these rules or not, that maybe you should follow them. And as long as we're talking trinket trading, I'll go ahead and bring up some of those rules that they've instated. First of all, you cannot trinket trade in front of vendors. So if you're in the vendor area where there's a bunch of people selling a bunch of stuff, unless that vendor has the trinket trader symbol up, so that vendor is trinket trading themselves, you're not allowed to trinket trade in front of the vendors, which makes sense because that's how those people make their living, and they're not trying to have their customers getting stuff for free when they could be purchasing.
I mean, okay, sure.
And a lot of trinket trading was like clogging up vendor space, which, in my opinion, in a lot of Renaissance fairs, there's not enough space for vendors as is. And if you're clogging up in front of their booth where people are trying to get in and look at their wares, that's a problem. 2, they've asked that anything that vendors sell that you don't do as a trinket trade. So things like elf ears, jewelry, like things you can actually buy at the fair, they've asked you not to do those things as trinket trade.
Okay. I guess I see the point there, but...
And then they've asked no more fairy dust as trinket trade, which basically what people were doing is like getting handfuls of glitter and throwing them on people and being like, it's fairy dust. And then no more glass bottles, small glass bottles as trinket trade.
Oh, yeah.
They were getting broken and hurting people and like leaving garbage all over the fairgrounds.
That's true.
But to be fair, a lot of fairs might not have as strict rules on trinket trade, but my fair a few years ago got taken over by the state and is now run by the Parks and Recs department instead of by the, private organization that was handling it before. So a lot of changes have happened since then, and there's been a lot of crackdowns since then where the city is trying to make it more of a quote-unquote family-friendly event, which is why I'm so worried about them just straight up banning it if people don't follow the rules.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a legit fear. I definitely see some of those rules for sure. And then the other ones, it's just like, okay, but if I'm going in there and I have like just a little trinket, like let's just say even like a wooden token, so what are the odds that someone could be like, oh, well, I sell wood things at my booth? Well, they shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's like within reason, in my opinion. Now, whether or not it'll be handled that way, I don't know. But I also don't think a lot of the things that people would buy at the fair that are more intricate and actually do cost money, I don't think a lot of people will be giving that kind of stuff away for free anyway. But I mean, I can also see, like I said, a lot of these people who are vendors at these fairs, they kind of travel the fair circuit, and it's how they make a living. And I can also kind of see the argument coming from a vendor where there might be someone coming through the fair who doesn't have a lot of money to spend, but they're willing to spend like $1 or a couple dollars on like something small. And then if they can get it as a trinket instead, then that means that's $1 or however much that vendor isn't getting. Which it's, on one hand, it's like hooray for anti-capitalism and somebody being able to get like some souvenir for free. But at the same time, these aren't big businesses that you're taking money away from. These are small businesses just trying to feed their families.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair. So yeah, I know you were talking about like the whole trinket thing at yours. I remember this whole thing just lighting up online, like at my local Ren Fair. There were a lot of people heated over this. A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Over the trinket trading in general, or like on a crackdown of it?
Both. So you had the people who were defending it, the trinket trading, and then you had people who were defending them restricting it.
Gotcha.
So, and it's funny too because like they were both pretty heated, but they were both making really good points, and I'm not really used to nerds online making great arguments.
That's so true.
So it's like, okay, all right. So there's that.
I think you really just got to be smart about it, and like the problem is the general population usually can't be smart about it. It's I think Kay put it best in Men in Black when he said a person is smart, but people are dumb, stupid, panicky, you know.
Right.
For example, there is a Facebook group I am a part of that is like the unofficial Tennessee Renaissance Fair group. That's just kind of run by people who are fans of the Renaissance Fair. It's not run by the Renaissance Fair at all. And I saw a post in there today where someone was like, hey, I was reading the rules and they're not really clear. A friend of mine wants to do this trinket trading thing. Does she have to register? She made a bunch of earrings she wants to sell. And it's like, okay, you obviously didn't read the rules at all. It's not unclear. It's like, one, you can't sell. You have to be a vendor to sell. So yes, you have to register. It's not trinket trading if you're selling. You can't sell if you're not registered. And two, it clearly says no earrings or jewelry in the rules. So I feel like this person who made this post would just kind of look for permission to break the rules. And trying to get somebody to say, well, it is against the rules, but they're not really going to enforce it. Feel free to do your thing. No. And I feel like the problem is you're going to have people who do that kind of stuff anyway. And that's how we lost alcohol at our local fair. When Parks and Recs took over, they banned alcohol. And the biggest reason they banned alcohol is because there were a bunch of people who were getting way too drunk and acting way too rowdy, and they wanted it to be a family-friendly event. So alcohol got banned. And a lot of people already say that Tennessee's Renaissance Fair isn't one of the greatest fairs. They say it's one of the worst. And if people keep acting a fool and people keep making it, they're just going to keep adding more and more restrictions.
That's true.
Which, once again, on one hand, it's like, fight the power, fight the man, do what makes you happy. But on the other hand, it's like, how many third spaces do we have? Do we have to keep ruining these?
Right. I can tell you right now, if my Ren Fair is never going to get rid of alcohol. Two, if they get rid of alcohol, that place will fold.
A lot of people said the exact same thing about the Tennessee Renaissance Fair, but people are still going.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
But I think the big difference there is a lot of people don't have too many other options as far as the Tennessee Renaissance Fair goes. When it comes to places like Ohio, how difficult would it be to head to Michigan's?
Right.
Or Pennsylvania, or some other, state that isn't that far away.
True.
But all of this massive trinket trading tangent we went on is to say, make sure you're looking at the rules for your Renaissance Fair. Make sure you're following the rules for your Renaissance Fair. We don't want you to go buy a ticket and then end up getting kicked out and basically pay for nothing. Because a lot of different Renaissance fairs have a lot of different weird rules that might not be something you're used to.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been at the gate and seen people surprised by the no outside food or drink rules, or whatever else as their bag is getting searched and they're heading in, or being like, peace tide? What's peace tide? Why do I have to tie a ribbon around this sword that I bought?
Yeah, that's... I feel bad for them sometimes, but then again, at the same time, it's like, maybe you should have known. But I guess that's why we're here, so...
Yeah. So, check your fair's website, read the rules, read the FAQs, look at the map, look at the schedule, check social media, depending on what the fair is. I don't know if it's true for all the other fairs out there, but fairs I've been to, it kind of seems that most of the vendors and most of the people running the events and people running the Renaissance fairs are more of an older geek crowd than a younger geek crowd. It's kind of one of those things that's still held by like the old guard. So I find Facebook is usually the better place to find the groups for Renaissance fairs, because that's what older people use is Facebook. But if you can find them on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is that you use for your local Renaissance fair, more power to you. Because there's a lot of things that might go on that don't show up on the official page, but do show up on the social media pages. If it's your first fair, I would say when you're looking at the schedules, pick like 2 or 3 things that you are for sure want to do and for sure want to see, and kind of schedule your trip around that. And other than that, just kind of take in the fair. I would say don't give yourself an itinerary from the time you get there until the time you leave, because you'll miss out on one of the coolest parts of the fair, which is just kind of walking around and taking it in.
Yeah, that should be my recommendation. Like, simple, I know this is a survival guide, but I like to give just simple advice, which I guess really is a good addition to any kind of survival guide. It's just simple advice. Just make your loop. Just make your loop once. Enjoy what you're looking at. Don't even stop at shows. Don't stop at anything. Take your time. Walk through. If you got to see a show, maybe watch it for a couple minutes and then just keep walking. You will more than likely be back. You will go to another Ren Fair, but you really want to get a lay of the land first. You want to feel how it is. So if you walk around, you see what shops are there, you see what shows are going on, because each section will have a schedule of what shows are going on at that section.
And a lot of those shows happen multiple times anyway.
Correct. So you go through, you get a look at the shows. Yeah, you have a brochure or pamphlet that'll tell you, but it doesn't. It's not going to. I think one of the first times I went to my Ren Fair, I had a pamphlet and got lost. So it's real easy to do.
Yeah.
Now you've been to my Ren Fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's big.
It's huge.
It's big, and it's got roads on it that are just like, okay, this has to go here, and it doesn't. It does not go where you think it's going. So it's definitely worth a look. And that first run through is great. Don't buy anything first way through. I know a lot of people will stop, see a shop, and they're like, oh, let's get something here. It's like, no, just wait. Just wait. Because there are definitely multiple oil vendors there. There are multiple corset vendors there. You know what I mean? They're all over the place. See what you want to get first.
You see, now, on that particular piece of advice, I agree with you personally. Okay. I will say, look at everything at the fair first before you decide what it is that you're going to spend your money on, because a lot of stuff can be very expensive, and it's worth it because it's handmade. People are selling things for what they're worth, I think. But that being said, I was talking to my wife before this podcast, and I was like, what tips do you have for the Renaissance Fair? And one of the first things she gave me was buy the thing. Like, if you see something that you like, buy it, because by the time you do your second wraparound, a lot of this stuff is handmade, one of a kind, and that thing that you wanted might be gone.
I am very much in the it just wasn't meant to be camp.
Right.
It's like, if it's not there, guess it just wasn't meant to be.
So, I see both sides of it, and like I said, I think I'm more on your side, but at the same time, if I'm at a Renaissance Fair with my wife and she decides that's how she wants to spend her money, I'm also not going to stop her. I'm not going to be like, well, let's look at other stuff first.
Right.
So I think, as with almost every tip we're going to give you throughout this entire survival guide, use your own discretion.
Absolutely.
And I also said toward the beginning of this, if you're going and first time, pick 2 or 3 things on the schedule that you want to do and kind of plan your trip around that. I would say if you're going with a group, even take that down to like one thing per person, like one thing that each person really wants to do or really wants to see. And because, like I said, you don't want to jam pack your schedule. Yeah,
that ruins my day, is having just a jam packed schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really don't like going. I don't even really like going in with an agenda.
Sure.
Going in with an agenda, that's like having a plan. If you have a plan, you have to count on that plan failing. And then you have to come up with a backup plan, which I never understood. If you just go in without a plan, then you just skip an entire step, and then you just make up the plan when you get there. I feel like that's just chaos, but I don't know.
Yeah. It all just depends on what kind of person you are. Like I said, I'm a planner. I like to plan, so I always look at the schedule before I go.
You fucking do, don't you?
I do.
You really do.
And I always look at the schedule, and I'm always like, I want to make sure that I see this, this, and this. But at the same time, over years of hearing the non-planners out, I've heard them out. And as long as I get to do a couple of things, because my thing is, if you don't go with a plan, sometimes you just don't get to do the things that you wanted to do. And for me, if there's like one big thing that I wanted to do and I don't get to do that because we were on the other side of the fair when it went down and we just didn't make a plan around it, that ruins my whole day. So I've adopted a we're going to pick this thing or this couple of things, and as long as we can make sure to hit these things, the rest of the day is unplanned.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that doesn't sound like a... I mean, it sounds like a plan, but it doesn't sound like... You know what I mean?
It's not
You're not
an
going
itinerary.
Right. Yeah.
Which I used to be the itinerary guy. Now I'm just the guy with a plan instead of the guy with an itinerary.
Right.
So, like I said, look over the website, get yourself the map. I would recommend the other thing, if your fair gives out maps, take the map instead of keeping the app or map open on your phone, because you should try to keep your phone away for most of the fair, except to maybe take some pictures. But, you know, being in the moment is what's going to work for the Renaissance Fair versus like having your phone out and staring at it for the map the entire time. So if you can get the paper map, if they offer the paper map, do that. The next thing I want to bring up is cash is king at the Renaissance Fair. So,
take it from someone who stood in line for like a half hour for an ATM. Listen to this man.
Before, I'd say days before you actually go to the Renaissance Fair, pull some cash out, and this is going to do a few things for you. One, a lot of places at the Renaissance Fair don't take anything but cash. A lot of vendors don't take anything but cash. Now, I will say more and more of them are starting to accept things like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. But a lot of these Ren Fairs are out in the middle of nowhere where there isn't great cell service. You're going to take forever trying to pay your digital pay method, if they even take it. So one, having the cash is going to make sure you have a smoother experience getting in, getting what you want, and moving on. And two, taking out a set amount of cash prevents you from overspending, which is really easy to do at a Renaissance Fair. If you pull out a certain amount before you go in, and that's your budget, after you run out of cash, just don't spend any more money.
That's like casino rules.
Yeah. It has prevented me from buying like the $250 sorcerer staff more than once at a Renaissance Fair.
Yep. Now, I will say this. There are a lot of people who will take cards now.
Yeah.
You know, companies like Square and Clover are really offering, you know, really accessible ways for them to be able to take card payments. But your way is a good way to just, again, like you said, not break the bank, which you will do. You will do.
But on the flip side of that coin, I will say another piece of advice that my wife sent along was buy the thing and eat the thing. So one, if you see something that you want, and it fits within your budget, go ahead and buy it. I mean, half of what the Renaissance Fair is just a great big place to do some shopping anyway, and support some smaller businesses and get some cool shit. So if you see the thing that you want, just go ahead and buy it. Don't hem and haw about the price. Don't hem and haw about, like, do I really need this thing? If it's within your budget and what you've already decided that you're going to spend at the Renaissance Fair, just go ahead and buy it. You'll have more fun that way. And the same thing with food. That's the eat the thing. Like, if you see something and it looks delicious, don't worry about your diet. Don't worry about your, this is going to be over my calorie count for the day. It's a party. Just look at it like it's a great big party.
Yeah,
that's and
fair.
Calories don't count at a party.
Nope, never do.
So eat the cheesecake on a stick, eat the giant turkey leg, eat the Jester fries. It's delicious.
I will say that my only argument with that would be, yes, if you don't if you don't get it like right now, it may not be there on your second time through. But at the same time, let's just say you use that $150 and you buy the thing, and you're like, oh, you're right, that's awesome. And then you go and you see something else, maybe even the same thing for cheaper, or you see something better, or you see something that you've always been wanting, like, you know, let's just say you see the corset and you're like, oh, I want the corset. We're gonna get the corset. I'm not gonna take a chance of it not being there. And then you walk a little further and you're like, is that the replica sword from Gladiator that I've wanted for years? Here now? That movie's been out for ages. How is this here now? I'd always wanted this, but when it was out and popular, I couldn't get it. Now here it is. I don't have the money for it now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can definitely see it both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, use your discretion, but I think the biggest point of that piece of advice is don't deprive yourself. Don't leave the fair without buying the thing.
Yes, there we go. Yes, buy the thing. Do not leave the fair without because yes, if you leave the fair without buying the thing, even after you made a couple passes and you finally found the thing you really, really wanted and you leave the fair, I can guarantee you it's probably not going to be there when you come back.
Yeah. As long as we're talking about shopping, a lot of the vendors, like I said, this is what they do for a living. This is how they make their living. A lot of them are making handmade goods. Don't be afraid to talk to the vendors. A lot of them are very excited to tell you about their process, to tell you how they made the thing, because this is their living. This is what they do. I think they'd rather answer your questions because you're in awe of what they made than just having somebody just walk by their booth and be like, oh, isn't that so cute? Isn't the way that you make your living just like a cute little thing to me? So don't be afraid to ask your questions and let them excitedly tell you about their process. They're going to want to talk to you.
Absolutely right. And given that what we're talking about and what you just added, let me tell you a little story about one time that I went to the Ren Faire. So it was really, really, really long time ago. I was probably early 20s, right? So early 20s, working at Blockbuster, broke as fuck. I'm there with my long time girlfriend at the time. So we go in and she wants to look at the corsets. We're both broke as fuck. So she just wants to look at the corsets. And this guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" And we're both like, "Yeah, we're just kind of looking. We don't really have the money to lay out on a course, and we don't want to waste your time." And he just kind of looks at us, right? And he's like, "Okay, let me tell you a story. First, pick out a corset." I'm like, "Okay." So she picks out a corset. So the whole time she's getting the corset, and he's helping her try it on and all this stuff. He is like telling us, if you go into a shop like this, never tell them you're broke. Always make them think that you have enough money to buy anything in the shop. So you go in there with the confidence of someone who has the money to buy anything in the shop, and you will get treated like gold. He talked about how he would go to these places that sold boats, right? Those little fast boats that, were millions of dollars or whatever. Not millions,
Right.
but thousands of dollars. And he would go in and at first they'd be like, "Oh, well, is there anything we can help you with?" He's like, "Look, I just got a big windfall, had a big, inheritance come through. Really looking to buy something fun because Nana said that I never took care of myself, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "I really just want to do this." And they're like, oh really?" And he said after that, these people would take him out on test drives of boats. They would test drive boat after boat after boat. They take him out to lunch. They take him out to dinner. This would be an all-day thing because they are looking to get Nana's money that doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So, and they just treated him like gold. And in the very, very end, he was like, "Hey, I really like this one. If you would be so kind as to put this one on hold, I'm going to talk to my lawyers and I'm going to talk to my banker and I'm going to go ahead and get this moving." And they'd be like, "Sweet, that's awesome." And he would never see them again.
Right.
So, and I bet a lot of you are thinking, "Oh, yeah, it's kind of mean." It's not really mean because all things considered, those people are making tons of money off of boats.
Right.
You may not feel the same way about going into like a mom and pop place, but this is a dude who owned a mom and pop shop who was telling us to do this.
Right.
But so yeah, so we went in. Maybe a year later, we went dress shopping. Went in there, and it was packed. It was during prom season.
Oh yeah.
Just right packed. So you had all these people in there. It had all these suburban moms in there with their kids, and it's just like, oh, it's gonna be forever. So I was like, okay, hold on. So I went over to the jewelry cabinet, right? where they sold and rented jewelry, and I'm just like looking at like the expensive shit. And I was like, someone came over and they're like, hey, can I help you? I was like, yeah, I'm looking to spend some money. We got a formal event to go to, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not really caring about expense. I just want this to look good. So we were like, I'm wanting some jewelry to go with it too. And they're like, oh, sir, well then, I shit you not. We got jewelry. We picked out jewelry and a dress and all that stuff. And she got into a waiting room or into a dressing room ahead of like a whole line of people.
Right.
Tried it on, blah, blah, blah. We told them to hold it and we'd be back, and we never were. But it was crazy. But yeah, so if you go in someplace, if you want to be treated well in a shop, don't tell them you don't have any money. Just go in there and just be like, own the place, try stuff on, have fun.
That being said, if you're extremely introverted and don't want to be talked to at all, tell them you don't have any money.
Yep. You're right. Believe me, that was hard for us. We had to pretend to be someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you go in there and you're just like, okay, well, I've been masking since I was 5, so I think I can do this. But yeah, it was fun.
And right along the lines of, don't be afraid to talk to the vendors and ask plenty of questions. If you feel comfortable doing it, it's a whole lot of fun to get in there and role play and be in character. So if they start talking to you in character, feel free to role play right on back. Like if they're talking to you as if they are from the time period of the Renaissance Festival, just play right on back. It can be a ton of fun.
Also, just in general, be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So like if you go up and like you see the queen in her court and you're like, I want to get a picture with the queen. Guess what? They are more than happy to pose with you and more than happy to take the picture for you. But the guy who takes the picture is going to pretend he doesn't know what a phone is.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. And you'll get at least one funny picture out of it.
Or they'll call it a fairy box or
right.
something else,
Which I actually enjoy quite a bit. I think it's cute. I love it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I also let me just jump to the beginning here. Something we should have said at the very beginning of this. Wear deodorant.
Yeah. Yeah, and as long as we're on this tip, wear deodorant, wear it the way you would normally wear it. I shouldn't have to tell you to put it on your pits.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm a bigger guy. Put it underneath your tits, too.
Yeah.
Right underneath your fucking... You know what? If you gotta call them pecs, call them pecs. But put them right up underneath there. You can't see me, but I'm totally feeling myself up.
Can confirm. But this is a tip that has saved me so much. If you are a bigger person and you're going to be walking around all day, take some of that deodorant and rub it on your thighs.
Yeah.
Because chub rub is real.
Talcum powder, too. Oh, my God.
And what that means is, like, if you're walking all day and you're sweating and your thighs are rubbing together as you walk, it causes a rash, but deodorant will nullify that shit and make it so you don't have a rash at the end of the day, which is awesome.
And if you don't do that, when you get home, Gold Bond powder, the Tiger Balm powder, not a sponsor, but holy shit, a lifesaver. Holy crap. It's like that's like old people shit, right? That Tiger Balm powder and shit like that. No. I was like 16 using that stuff. Playing football and all that. Oh my God, it feels so good when you're all like chub rubbed out and even just on your muscles, you put that on there. It's almost like icy hot. It feels
if
so
we could
good.
Get a Gold Bond or Tiger Balm affiliate?
Fuck it. Well, yeah, let's do it.
Well, they aren't, but you know who is?
Icy hot?
tvillain.com.
Hot damn. Or ice damn?
T-Villain is a t-shirt site where you'll find a killer limited edition shirt being sold for $13 only while supplies last. Every Monday, the site features a new design by a new artist. We would tell you what's featured right now, but by the time you hear this, it's already changed.
They choose the most ingenious designs that reflect everything evil and villainy, as well as works pertaining to anything artistic, pulp style, lowbrow, pop culture, TV, movies, music, video games, comics, etc. All things cool and evil, basically. To check them out and help out Casters Guild, click our link in the description. But speaking of awesome things you can wear, let's talk a little bit about garb.
No. Okay.
So, like I said, take anything that we say from here on out as discretion, because at the end of the day, wear what you feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
But within the rules.
Right.
Like I said.
Right.
That's another thing that got cracked down on at the Tennessee Renaissance Fair is they're like, no beer, no tits.
And I will say this too, as someone who, I don't know why I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to my garb and my cosplay, but if I don't have it all perfect right in the beginning, it's not going to work for me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It has to all be good. It has to all be ready to go. It has to be a full garb, ready to go, or I just can't wear it.
Sure.
However, the best plan is not that.
Yeah, agreed. Before we get too much into it, I will say the number one question I get from people who've never been to a Renaissance Fair before, when I start talking about Renaissance Fair, is, do I have to wear a costume? And the answer is no. You can go in jeans and a t-shirt, or like I said, whatever you're comfortable in, and no one will look at you weird. It's fine. And I think what Baron was just hinting at is the best thing to do for your Renaissance Fair garb is start with something very basic, and as you go each year, let your garb evolve and kind of add on to it little bit by little bit as you go on.
Yeah. Because not only is it going to be easier to build, but it's going to be kind of like a timeline of your time at Ren Faire, too. So you'll be able to look at this full set of garb and be like, oh, see, I got this my first year. I bought these at this shop, blah, 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 and then I added on same day with this little piece here, and then next year I got this piece, and then the year after that I got this piece and this piece. Never too late to start, people. Never too late to start.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who is, oh god, in his 50s, maybe almost 60s, and he's doing stuff like this still. And if you're starting in your 30s, which I think is our core audience group right now, younger now,
pretty much.
now. Like I'm trying to know who to cater to right now. Anyways, if you start then and you're still doing it at that age, just imagine the costume that you're going to have.
Right.
Let's just say you go to Ren Faire every year and you get a piece of garb every year. One piece. And you do it for one piece. And you do it for 30 years. You're going to have like 30 pieces of a full set of garb.
Yeah, you're going to be looking like that epic level adventurer by the end of it.
Yeah. If you think about it, let's just say you go for the core pieces first, you're going to be done after 5 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Done. You're going to be done. And then after that, you got 25 pieces to just add on to this. Yeah, you're going to literally be an adventurer at that point.
A couple piece of advices for people who are starting out: don't be afraid to hit your local thrift store. You can find surprising things that work for a Renaissance Fair at a thrift store.
Yep. Do not be afraid to wear normal shoes. I don't care if you're in full garb. If you're in full garb and you have a set of tennis shoes with that nice insoles that are nice and soft and comfortable, wear the fucking tennis shoes. No one's going to care.
Yeah, I actually have it right here on my notes. I don't write many notes for many episodes, but I did do it here. I have it right here in my notes. Everything is dirt. Heels equals bad idea. Good boots equals good idea.
Yeah, heels full.
Don't wear heels.
Oh, man.
I don't care how cute they are. I've said, almost everything, every piece of advice here is use your own discretion. Not this one. Don't wear heels. I don't care how cute they are. Yeah. I don't care how good they work with the outfit. Everything is dirt. Everything is mud. Do not wear the heels.
Even what's not dirt and mud is wood planks.
Yeah.
Which isn't good either.
Yeah. Or gravel.
Oh, gravel. Good Lord. Can you imagine?
I can. I've done it.
Oh, have you? You've worn heels into that crap?
Not in a Renaissance Fair, but over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, yeah. Fuck. Oh, no. Oh no.
But the tennis shoes is great. In my experience, a good pair of boots is even better. If you get a good pair of boots, they can be more comfortable than a pair of tennis shoes.
Take your time on the boots, though, because it's real hard to find a good pair of boots.
Yeah, and
well, no, hold on.
A good
I'm sorry.
pair of boots is going to match your garb.
Correct. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say a good pair of boots is hard to find. If you know what you're looking for, then it's easier. But it might take a bit to find a good pair of boots for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
but
there's that.
Your local boot store, if it's worth its weight in salt, will be able to help you with that and know exactly what they're talking about. Go into the place like, you have a lot of money and let them treat you like gold and find you the right pair of boots.
Sure, why not? I'm afraid, though, if I was to do something like that, I would fuck around and get the expensive boots because it's like, oh, wait.
Hey, but at the same time, when it gets to the expensive boots, as long as they are expensive because they're good and not just because they have a name or because they look good, that's an investment. And if it's something you can wear every year, then kind of worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
If it's your first Ren Fair and you're not sure how much you're going to be coming back, which if you go, you're going to be coming back, let's be real, but you're not sure and you don't want to make the investment in a garb, but you do want to play, every Renaissance fair I've been to has costume rentals. And while the costume rental might be more than your thrift store find, for what you're getting, it's definitely going to be way cheaper than buying it, and you will look good. And most of the people who work there know what they're doing, and they're going to work with you and have fun with you as you pick out your costume. And that process of renting your costume is going to be just as fun as wearing it. So if you're not going to buy a costume because you're not sure how many Ren fairs you're going to go to and you're looking to, costume rental is always a good option, in my opinion.
Honestly, that's something I never considered before. I don't think my Ren Fair has to have a costume rental. I guess I've never looked.
It does. It's right after you go in. It's like the first booth on your right.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Which what it is at most Ren fairs. It's usually as soon as you walk through the main gate, there's costume rental.
Right, which I guess is convenient.
Mm-hmm. You're also going to see a lot of other people in really cool costumes who've been working on it for years. Just like if you're at a convention, cosplay is not consent. Ask before taking pictures.
Yeah, don't rush up and just hug somebody. Don't rush up and just touch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of our listeners we don't need to tell this to.
Right.
I think a lot of us know that touching out of nowhere is creepy and sometimes triggering. So it feels like something that shouldn't be said, but still doesn't hurt to say it.
Yeah. A lot of the people who don't need to be told that did just cheer when we said it anyway. So.
Oh, fair.
As long as we're figuring out what our demographic is, so we can pander. Let's continue pandering.
Right. This would be way easier if pandas were our key demographic.
Yeah, just talk about bamboo all the time.
Yeah, pander to pandas.
Man, isn't this bamboo great?
Love bamboo. You know where you can get the best bamboo?
Tell me.
tvillain.com.
Asterisk may not sell bamboo.
Man, if they come out with a shirt like tomorrow and there's bamboo on it, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'll quit this podcast forever.
All right. So, next thing, consider arriving and leaving early.
That's fair.
A lot of Ren fairs, parking is a nightmare. I know last year at my local Ren Fair, it took us 2.5 to 3 hours to even reach the parking lot.
Oof.
Let alone get parked and then walk the half a mile to a mile from where we parked to the front gate because we didn't show up early. So consider getting up early and arriving early while the parking is still good. And then consider leaving early if you don't want to have that same traffic on the way out. Now, I will say a lot of the most fun parties and concerts and get-togethers happen at the very end of the Renaissance Fair. So if you don't mind the traffic, it's nice to stay. But if you want to avoid the traffic, consider leaving early.
Yeah, I know a lot of the parties and stuff that happen at my Ren Fair, you don't just go to. You're not allowed to just go to those.
Yeah, that's fair.
They have a very you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here policy once it hits that time.
Yeah.
They're just like, get the fuck out because we're gonna hang out now.
I will say both at the Tennessee Renaissance Fair and the Maryland Renaissance Fair, there's like this big thing right before closing where there's like a main area where there's just a whole lot of benches and seats, and a lot of the performers all come together for like one big final performance at the end where it's like a sing-along and everybody's kind of enjoying their drinks and singing along, and it's like almost like the pre-party for the post-party that's going to happen for everybody who just like works there. And that's some of the most fun you can have at a Renaissance Fair, but if you stay there for that, and especially through that, exiting will be a nightmare.
Yep.
So decide for you whether or not that's worth it. Oh, this is a big one, and I'm not sure how we've skipped it up until now. Hydrate.
Oh yeah, that's above deodorant.
Yes.
Not
that deodorant. Not that we want to smell you, but we'd rather smell you than watch you pass out. But
Yeah.
So a lot of Renaissance fairs won't let you bring in disposable plastic water bottles, but they'll all allow reusable water bottles. So bring your water bottles if you don't want to buy expensive water bottles at the Ren Fair. And if your Ren Fair does have alcohol, I would recommend 1 glass of water for every alcoholic drink. One of my first Renaissance fairs I ever went to, I was still young, still kind of new to drinking. The Maryland Renaissance Fair has this drink called the Bee Sting, which is half mead and half hard apple cider. It's delicious. I have introduced that drink to many people because it's so good. But me and a friend went from opening till close, and the only thing I drank the entire time I was there was Bee Stings.
Our fair calls it Queen's Tea.
And I skipped drunk. I didn't get drunk. I skipped drunk and went straight to hungover. And I felt terrible.
I'm starting to think it's maybe that. Because, I had a very, I don't want to say similar experience, but it was a very weird experience where I think I had a beer and I had a mead. And I'm just walking around feeling not any of that. I'm just normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I start getting hungry. Me and a buddy, we stop and get some food. We get some Queen's Tea to go with it. I take a big drink of the Queen's Tea, and I just eat some of my turkey leg. And it's as soon as that food hit my belly, it's just let's activate all that alcohol inside of you. And it's oh no. It's me and a buddy, we even brought a designated driver because we're we're gonna have you drive us home. And it just wasn't hitting us. And we're oh, well, sorry, maybe we shouldn't have brought you. Didn't mean to, do that. But, I'm glad you're here so we can at least hang out and have fun. As soon as we had that turkey leg, I'm just man, I am not driving. Sorry. Yeah. No. Criminy.
But yeah,
which leads us to our next suggestion. Bring a designated driver or don't fucking drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, if you're going to the Tennessee Renaissance Fair, you don't have to worry about because you're not drinking anyway. But no, dehydration is no joke, and it can do some fucked up shit to you. And like I said, I skipped straight from drunk, didn't even get to experience being drunk, went straight to hungover, and that was just because of how dehydrated I was. It's hot at most Renaissance fairs. It's Renaissance Fair season right now, which means you're looking at spring and summer. Yours is more toward the fall, which I think is smarter, but yeah. It can still be hot. It's still sunny, and you're doing a lot of walking. And if you're like me, a kind of guy who works from home and sits at a desk all day, maybe you're not used to walking all that much. So all of that, especially when you add in alcohol, can lead to some serious dehydration problems. So hydrate. Yep, can't agree more. As long as we're talking about that, there are other ways you should take care of yourself. Like we said, do the deodorant, wear something you're comfortable in. That way you're not hating yourself. Put on sunscreen. I don't care if it is the beginning of spring or into October. The sun still exists, and you're going to be outside all day. and you don't want to be miserable when you get home and your skin's all red and peeling off.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you're friends with people like we're friends with.
Yeah.
Who, are so pale. So pale.
Because we don't go outside.
Yeah.
Go outside, and then you don't go outside, and then you go spend an entire day outside, and then you go, oh man, I didn't think I was gonna burn. It's not even summer. Like, you're gonna burn.
I showed pictures of myself to, oh gosh, I can't remember who it was, but it was of me when I was younger, like 16. I was so dark. Like, so dark. Because I was always outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I would say from, oh god, the time I could walk to maybe my 30s, I was outside most of the time. But then, then I wasn't. No, you know what? I take that back. It was like mid-20s when D&D and stuff really started taking over my life.
But yeah, just take care of yourself. And if you're walking around and you do start to get tired, don't be afraid to find a place to sit down.
Shade.
Yeah.
Find that shade, because it's there. I will say every Ren Fair I've seen has had some kind of shade.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't be afraid to go someplace. Sit against a tree. You may go someplace that just doesn't have any seating available, because there are, like at mine, there are picnic tables with benches and everything like that. If they're filled, go someplace else. Go sit against a tree under the shade and relax. They're not going to say anything to you.
Yeah.
And if you're in your expensive garb and it gets a little stain on it, guess what? It has character now.
Right. Next thing I'll bring up is theme weekends. Most Ren Fairs have them. As a matter of fact, most Ren Fairs, every weekend is a particular theme weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, don't think that you have to play into a theme weekend. If you're like, oh, this is the only weekend that works for me in my schedule, so I'm going to go this weekend, and it's pirate weekend, but you want to show up as a wizard, show up as a wizard.
Wizard.
Don't think you have to be the pirate. If it's Celtic weekend and you're usually the pirate, feel free to show up as the pirate. Who cares if it isn't pirate weekend?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I will say, if you are the wizard, you're going to have more fun on fantasy weekend, and if you are the pirate, you might have more fun on pirate weekend, but don't let the fact that it's not your weekend spoil your fun either.
Right.
And if you can go to a particular weekend that you want to play into, then please do that, because I've gone pirate weekend plenty of time in full pirate guard and had a blast.
I've been wanting to go to the time traveler weekend.
That's always fun.
Except that every time we go, the Spawn's birthday celebration is around that time, and we go to the Mothman Festival.
Oh, that's fair enough.
It seems like the Mothman Festival is always on time traveler weekend. And we haven't had a chance to exploit his newfound hyperfixation with Star Trek. Because let me tell you, that's the perfect time to do it.
Let me tell you, if the last time y'all went to the Mothman Festival, it was severely overcrowded, correct?
Yeah.
So maybe this year you could talk the Spawn into being like, hey, let's go pretend that we're on a holodeck for the weekend instead of...
Except for the fact that our Ren Fair is horribly overcrowded, too.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And it deserves to be. It's a good fair.
I just hate anything that's horribly overcrowded.
Yeah. That's the other thing you should know right now. I don't care what Ren Fair it is that you're going to. I don't care what weekend it is that you're going. It's going to be horribly overcrowded.
Yeah. Yep.
The Ren Fair scene has gotten way too big for it not to be overcrowded.
I don't know what happened either. It has to be the pandemic coming along and making D&D all super popular. The pandemic made nerds cool. Damn it.
It did.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this.
It sounds like in my voice that I'm angry, but I'm actually very happy that this has happened.
So fucking happy. But it's made everything that I love so crowded.
Yeah.
So busy. So packed.
I just hope that a lot of these places will take the money that they're getting from being overcrowded and expand. That way, maybe it's not as overcrowded. You're right, they won't. But,
Thank you. All right.
That doesn't mean I can't hope and dream and wish
Now, I will say this. I think, I make the funny face. I really think the Ohio Ren Fair is doing that. In fact, I believe that they just made the move to become their own essentially their own city.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, give me a second. Actually, this is April 19th news. Court rules in Ohio Renaissance Festival Village detachment request. Oh, no, they can't. They cannot.
Oh.
They've said no. A Warren County judge has ruled that the Ohio Renaissance Festival cannot detach from the village of Harveysburg.
But that's this year.
They didn't meet all the necessary elements for detaching.
What were they missing, does it say?
I don't know. Failed to prove it was taxed. Oh. Said 4 of the elements required. Brimstone and fire failed to prove it was taxed for municipal purposes in substantial excess of the benefits received from the village, and found detachment of the property would have a substantial negative impact on the best interest and good government of the village. So basically,
it means the city they are currently attached to would lose money because they wouldn't be able to tax the fair.
Right. Yes.
Boo.
They also said the village was threatening to impose a targeted entertainment tax that could raise ticket prices by as much as $2.
Woo.
25 years of villagers over the years the village relied on revenue. So it says over the years the village has relied on this revenue it received from the property. So yes, if they aren't receiving money from the Ren Fair anymore, that village is saying that it will die.
Makes sense. But if anything, maybe the fact that the Ren Fair tried to secede, if you will, and failed, perhaps the city will see that without the Ren Fair, it will fail, and perhaps will go into supporting it.
I will say that I believe that there was a instance where the Renaissance Fair was actually trying to expand, and the village was saying no.
Maybe they'll come back to that negotiating table.
Oh, and this is from the Ohio Ren Fairs. I know I'm talking about the Ohio Ren Fair an awful lot, but this is from their Facebook page. Quote, to provide a better experience for patrons attending the festival, the Ohio Ren Fest will now be limiting its capacity.
Oof. I mean, yes, that's a good thing, but at the same time, it just goes more into my arrive early thing.
Yep.
Buy your tickets early if you can.
Purchasing a ticket
online
in advance. Will guarantee entrance into the festival. Season pass holders, any day adult ticket holders, and complimentary pass holders will receive guaranteed admission. Once capacity is reached, ticket booths and online sales will close.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Buy your tickets online, people. Don't drive all the way to the Renaissance Fair, because honestly, the Tennessee has done the same thing. And I imagine a lot of Renaissance fairs around the country have done the same thing. You don't want to drive all the way to your Renaissance fair, sit in a 3-hour-long line, try to park just to get to the ticket booth and find out you can't get in.
Wolfram and Hart on Reddit has said it perfectly. Age of the Geek has its drawbacks, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, buy it online. I mean, we are geeks. We know how to use the internet. Buy your ticket online.
Yep.
Especially once you figure out, I mean, like, I don't care if it's like a month in advance. If they're selling them now and you know what weekend you're going to go, you've got that locked down for sure, do it. Oh, yeah. The other thing, go with friends if you can. I mean, going by yourself can still be fun, but the Ren Fair is less about the shows that you will see and the stuff that you will buy, and more about just the experience of being there. And that gets even better when you get to share it with friends.
Yep.
Go with your D&D group. Go with some coworkers that you like. Go with family if you like your family.
Family. No, I do have my...
Your family is not recommended for everyone.
Right. I will say that there are members of my actual, like, I don't want to say actual, but my blood family who I would hate to go to the Ren Fair with. Just absolutely hate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have different groups of people that I would love to go to the Renaissance Festival with for a bunch of different reasons. So we would just have to make sure that we are buying accordingly.
Correct. Any last tips before we wrap this one up?
No, man. As soon as I get the deodorant tip in, I'm pretty much capped.
Showered the
Nope.
night before or the morning of, whatever
Shower
works
after.
for you. Definitely
Fucking
shower
shower.
after. But
Shower
like,
after.
if I don't know you and like we meet up at the Renaissance Fair, you showering after or not doesn't affect me at all. But you showering before, that
like-
does affect me. So please shower before and wear your deodorant.
My stance is, I'm saying this for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Shower after, you will thank yourself later. I promise you.
I don't
You're
care
gonna be
how tired
sore.
you are.
Ugh.
I don't care how much you're like, oh, I just want to sit down. Get in the shower.
Don't. Yeah, get in the shower. Nice, hot shower. Lay down in a nice fanned room. Nice. Make it nice.
Before we wrap this up, we do have a bit of news. Casters Guild will be press at Origins Game Fair.
Woo!
So look forward to our coverage of the Origins Game Fair. And if you're going to be there, come find us. We'll be there. Get in the Discord and let us know that we're going to be there. We'll make sure that you find us.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what is coming out at Origins Game Fair that you definitely want to hear coverage on. Because there might be some indie game that you're like, oh, this is going to be a game fair. I want to hear about that. And we might not know about it. But if you tell us to go find it, we'll go find it. We'll play test it.
Absolutely.
We'll let you know how it went. But thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Casters Guild. Email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Let us know what local fairs you'll be attending and what tips you have for attending the Renaissance Festival. Join us on the Discord. That's where all the fun stuff is happening. And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Gonna go get me a giant turkey leg.
Yeah.